The rain had started falling before the elevator doors even opened, the kind of cold, steady rain that felt less like weather and more like a verdict. He stepped out of the glass tower with his shoulders slightly hunched, not because of the rain, but because something heavier had settled inside his chest. Another interview over, another polite smile. Another carefully worded rejection, hidden behind professional silence. He did not slam doors or curse fate. He simply adjusted the worn strap of his bag, looked down at his scuffed shoes, and walked away as if disappointment had become a familiar companion he no longer questioned. Before we go any further, let me pause here for just a moment. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet strength of people who keep going even when life keeps closing doors, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this exist because people still believe humanity matters. He was a single father, though nothing about his appearance announced it. No badge, no sign, just tired eyes that had learned how to wake up before dawn and still smile by morning. The interview had been important, more important than he allowed himself to admit. It was not just a job, it was rent, groceries, school fees, and the promise he had made to a small child who believed his father could fix anything. He had prepared for weeks, memorizing answers late at night, while his daughter slept curled beside him on a thin mattress, her tiny fingers wrapped around his shirt, as if letting go might make him disappear. Inside the interview room, everything that could go wrong did. His voice shook when asked about a gap in his resume. His hands trembled slightly when he spoke about experience that had been interrupted by hospital visits and sudden phone calls from school. He tried to keep it professional, to translate exhaustion into competence, but the words did not land the way he hoped. He saw it in their eyes, the polite narrowing that said they had already decided. When it ended, they thanked him for his time, he thanked them for theirs, that was it. Walking away from the building, he replayed every moment in his head. He wondered if he should have hidden the truth, polished his story, or pretended life had been kinder to him than it actually was. But he had promised himself one thing after his wife passed away. He would not lie to survive. He would survive honestly or not at all. What he did not know was that several floors above, behind tinted glass and minimalist walls, someone was watching. The billionaire CEO of the company had not planned to sit in on interviews that day. He rarely did anymore, but a delayed meeting and a passing glance at a candidate profile had kept him near the observation screen. He had watched the interview quietly, noticing things others missed. The way the man straightened his posture when discussing responsibility, the way he did not blame anyone for his setbacks, the way he spoke about work not as ambition, but as duty. The CEO had built an empire from nothing decades ago. He recognized hunger when he saw it, but this was different. This was not hunger for power or money. This was hunger to protect, to provide, to keep a fragile world from collapsing on a child's shoulders. When the interview ended and the hiring panel marked the file with a quiet no, something unsettled stirred inside him. Down on the street, the man walked past buses, splashing water onto the pavement. He checked his phone, not for messages, but out of habit. There were none. He thought about his daughter waiting at a neighbor's house, doing homework at a borrowed table. He calculated how many more interviews he could afford to attend before bus fare itself became a problem. He did not cry, he did not stop. He kept walking. Behind him, the glass doors burst open. The billionaire CEO did something he had not done in years. He ran, past assistants calling his name, past security confused by the sudden urgency, past the image he had spent a lifetime building. He ran because something about letting that man disappear into the rain felt like a mistake he would regret forever. The single father heard footsteps behind him and turned, startled, expecting perhaps a security issue or a misunderstanding. Instead, he saw a sharply dressed man, slightly out of breath, rain darkening the shoulders of an expensive coat. The CEO slowed, caught his breath, and looked at him not as an applicant, but as a human being. What followed was not dramatic in words, but it was seismic in meaning. The CEO explained that the interview result did not reflect the full measure of who he was, that sometimes systems fail to see character, that walking away did not mean the end. He asked the man to come back inside. The single father hesitated. Years of rejection had taught him not to hope too quickly, but there was something different in the CEO expression. Not pity, respect, the kind that does not speak loudly but feels solid. So he turned around and walked back, rain, soaked and confused, heart pounding harder than it had during the interview. Inside, the atmosphere changed. The CEO dismissed formalities and asked questions no checklist could cover. Not about perfect answers, but about resilience, about mornings that start before sunrise, about responsibility that does not take sick days. The single father spoke honestly, no longer trying to impress. He spoke about loss, about learning how to braid hair from online videos, about nights when fear was louder than sleep, and about the promise he made to never let his child feel abandoned by the world. By the time the conversation ended, the decision was clear, but the real transformation did not begin with the job offer. It began with what followed in the weeks after. The company provided flexibility that allowed him to pick up his daughter from school. A mentor who did not see him as a charity case, but as an investment. A workspace where his ideas were heard, not filtered through assumptions about his past. At home, life slowly changed. Not overnight miracles, but steady improvements. The fridge stayed full. School shoes were replaced before they fell apart. Laughter returned to the apartment, soft at first, then stronger. His daughter noticed it before he did. The way he smiled more. The way he no longer stared at the ceiling at night, calculating impossible numbers. The billionaire CEO, for his part, found himself changed too. Watching the man thrive reminded him of the early days when he himself had been overlooked, underestimated, dismissed. It reminded him that success without humanity is hollow, and that sometimes the greatest returns come from believing in someone when the system does not. Months later, the single father stood in the same building, not as an interviewee, but as a valued employee. He watched the rain from above, and thought about that day he almost disappeared into it. He understood now how close he had come to giving up, not because he was weak, but because the weight had been too heavy to carry alone. Before we reach the ending, I have a special request. Please comment below and tell us what this story made you feel, or share a moment when someone believed in you at your lowest. Your words might give strength to someone reading them right now. Near the end of the year, the company held a small event. Families were invited. The single father brought his daughter, her hand tucked confidently into his. She ran through the space with wide eyes, unaware of how close her world had come to breaking. The CEO watched them from across the room and felt something rare in his chest, peace. The story did not end with wealth or fame. It ended with stability, with dignity restored, with a child growing up knowing her father never quit on her, and a man learning that asking for nothing but a chance can sometimes be enough when it reaches the right heart. If this story touched you, if it reminded you that kindness still exists, and that one decision can change a lifetime, please like this video, share it, and subscribe to the channel. Your engagement helps these stories reach people who need hope the most. In the end, the rain stopped, but the memory of that day never faded. Because sometimes the most powerful thing a person can do is turn around, run against the current, and choose to see someone not for their failures, but for their courage to keep walking anyway.